Welcome to episode 6 of Conversations with Black Women in Tech. I have a special guest with me today. I have Miss Kishawna Peck. And I'll let her introduce herself. But I think that her mission is just a really great mission and just lined with our show so well. She has a mission to help a million women be data literate. So, can you just introduce yourself and tell us what your business is?
Yep. So my name's Kishawna Peck. I'm the founder and CEO of Toronto Womxn in Data Science. So we started in 2018. We have three parts of our mission. So the first is to enable a million women to become data literate. The second is to increase the recruitment and retention of women in data roles. And the third is to influence inclusive innovation.
Wow! And how long have you been in tech?
I've been in tech for about 6, 7 years.
Okay. And so, what were you doing before that? Just something that you always wanted to do? Did you know that you wanted to be in tech?
No. I think my entire career journey was a bit of an accident, but it's been like a beautiful accident.
Hmm.
So like my background is in economics,
Hmm.
and I was working as a financial analyst as like my first job out of university. And while I was there, I went through what I didn't know was data at the time. So to find like discrepancies and things like that with financial data. And then I was like, oh, like I kind of like this, but I didn't really pay attention to it much. I was covering a mat leave. So when that ended, I went back to the drawing board of trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grow up, which is
Hmm.
something that I do regularly. And I landed on the fact that I wanted to be a consultant. And for me at the time, like at that young age, a consultant was someone who, like, they help solve problems, like they're problem solvers and they recommend like solutions. So for me, I was like, in order for me to be a solid consultant, I need to be able to back up all my recommendations. And then I was like, okay, like I have to get like really good at providing evidence for things. And then I found out that that was data analytics. And I took a post grad certificate in data analytics, just trying to be able to have those skills to back up going into consulting. And then I ended up getting a internship as a data analyst.
Hmm.
So everything I was learning in class, I was doing through the internship. So school was full time and so was the internship. So it was like
Wow.
a lot. It was a
Hmm.
lot at once, but it allowed me to learn a lot. Um,
Hmm.
and then when my internship was done, I was able to convert that into a full time role. And I was their first data hire in that department. So
Okay.
because I was the only data hire in the department, I had no one to learn from or anything. So I was always looking for courses, I was looking for events to go to. And while I was looking, I found a conference for women in data science, but it was in the States and there was nothing in Canada. And I was like, oh, someone should do this. And then I
Yeah.
convinced myself, like, oh, I could do it. It'll be small,
Right.
nothing serious.
Mm.
We had more than like 150 people come the first time I ran the conference. I did it in 6 weeks. I don't know who that girl is that did that because right now, like, I need rest in order to operate.
Right.
Yeah. So then while I was at the first conference, I noticed that the room wasn't as diverse as I would have hoped it to be. Like, yes, it was a room full of women. But as a Black woman, like, I strongly believe that like more of us need to be there and other like diverse women need to be represented. So we decided to focus more on intersectionality to ensure that there was more women on and off the stage that were able to grow in this field. And then slowly over time, we've added things like a podcast, a resource library,
Mm-hmm.
different programs. But initially, like it was all an accident.
Hmm. Well, it sounds like it was divine intervention to be, not just, an accident. Like that's what you were supposed to be doing.
Hmm.
And oftentimes you have to go through all these different hurdles and, detours to get to where you're supposed to be.
Hmm.
And the good part about doing this show is that I do get to meet black women who are in tech, because you would think that there's not that many, but they're out there.
Mhm.
And I think the more conversations we have around it, more people will be interested. It's from what I'm seeing anyway, a lot of women are discouraged because they don't want to learn coding, or they think they can't do it, or it's too time consuming. Have you run into anything like that? Like any obstacles as you're in your tech journey, like with maybe people that you work with,
Mhm.
you know, I don't want to say discriminating, but you know, microaggressions and things like that within the workplace, that you can offer some advice to someone who's
Mhm.
thinking about going into their field.
Well, I'll answer the first part on the like technical skills. So it matters on the role that you want within data science and AI. Some require you to code and some don't. So for example, if you're like a data analyst, a data scientist, a machine learning engineer, like you're going to have to code. Meanwhile, if you have other roles that are more like project manage or product manager for data, or like something else that's within data and AI, you may
Mm-hmm.
not need to code as much.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of different resources out now that it's easier for you to learn to code. And like I am forcing myself to relearn how to code because my last role I was actually like in a leadership position, which once you get in like leadership positions, you're not coding. Like you might review code, but you're not coding. So my skills are stale. So I'm trying to like revamp them. And it's always like a learning journey. Also, there's a lot of new tools out that are no code, or like there's tools that they'll literally assist you in writing the code.
Mm-hmm.
So there's more technology that is able to help in that way. As far as discrimination and microaggressions, that's definitely something that I've experienced. And it's like the main thing that fuels me for the work that I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
because I've seen it not just with myself, but with other women of color in this
Mm-hmm.
field. And it doesn't just extend as like, oh, it's like something that's happening in the workplace. Like those values are also being embedded in the products and services that are being made. So,
Mm-hmm.
in order to ensure that the products and services are inclusive, it needs to be made by a diverse and inclusive like workforce, right? But if all the women, and all the diverse women are leaving, you're losing like a big chunk of society, right? So that's why I'm pushing for more inclusive workplaces, so women can actually thrive in those environments. Um, Especially as a Black woman, as a woman of color, there's like that intersection of like racism and also misogyny. So it's like a very interesting line, and I would recommend to like deeply research the companies that you're looking to be a part of, not just at a high level, but also like who are you reporting to, and like who do they report to and who do they report to,
Right.
to kind of get an understanding, because it's easier in those environments if you know that you have the right support.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the kind of things that helped me navigate toxic spaces or last for longer periods of time, is a type
Mm-hmm.
of support that I had around me. So that's essential. So like figuring that out, and I know for myself, there's like a 2 to 3 year span before it starts getting like really toxic for me. So
Mm-hmm.
if I was to re-enter into the workforce, like I would have like a 2 3 year plan, because I know by year three it gets dicey. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What do you, or how do you feel about a lot of the certificate programs that are going around? I see a lot of women, they don't have degrees, but they do want to get into tech. However, they can just get their foot in the door, so they're taking like the Google certifications. I think there's like some classes that you can take on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
You know, freecode.org, all those places to learn how to code. If you don't have a degree, but you've learned the skill out, you know, on your own, How do you feel about that? And is that a good way to still get your foot in the door? Or do you think a traditional path is still the best way?
I think doing those is perfectly fine as long as you're building a portfolio as you're doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and not just from the generic data sets that you go through these like online courses with. Like play with some data that you're actually interested in, so you have something unique to show hiring managers. Because myself, I know when I would hire, like I don't care which school you went to, like show me what you can do, right? Like show me the projects that you're able to do. So that would be the thing. And also like knowing that you're going to have to be a continuous learner if you're in this space, like whether or not you were traditionally trained or you're going through a certification, like you're always learning because things are moving so fast, right? So I feel like it doesn't matter. I would just be careful about choosing certificates to make sure that it actually would provide the outcome that you're looking for. So what I would do is kind of scan for the role that I want. So like look at different job descriptions and be like, okay, like this is what I'm interested in. See what kind of skills are usually there for those type of roles and learn those skills instead of saying like, oh, I'm just going to learn everything. Because like if you have a target company or a target industry, they may need specific skills that you could learn easier than if you're like, I'm just going to learn everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be one of the things. And it also helps you identify what gaps you actually have. Because most times there's things from your other career that you can transfer. You just didn't realize it yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know. I'm a mom. I have 6 kids, so
Wow.
I need to put that on my
Like
look.
all I have is a dog.
Project management. I could be a project manager just based off of how I manage my household. So definitely think about those transferable skills. So
Mhm.
how does your company plan to accomplish the mission that you have? How do you plan to reach those million women?
So we have different things for data literacy. So we have our podcast. We have our resource hub. So the resource hub has like study guides for different AI and data books. We also are building a curriculum for women to learn how to build inclusive AI products and services. We're waiting on a grant right now, and if that one doesn't go through, I'll just apply to more of them. Um, so more women actually get to learn how to build the AI products and services. And we're also building like a suite of online courses. So we're trying to figure out different ways to reach the most people, but also partnering with the right companies and the right other aligned organizations so that we could do it together.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, I did a program with the Toronto Public Library to teach AI literacy. It was like a 10-week program. So that was one of the things that we did as well.
Okay. And so where do you see yourself, in the next 5 to 10 years? Because I'm sure you're gonna, meet those goals. You're gonna, touch all those women, and then what? Like, what happens after that?
So I've thought about this. It's
Mhm.
a good thing. So one of the things that I want to do is I want to be able to fund women who are building AI products and services. So I haven't figured out what that looks like if I would be an angel investor or if I'd start like a venture capitalist fund, but something of that sort. I also want to like the program that we're running to build the products and services, that's something that I want to blow out more
Mhm.
so that education is available for more women. And I'd love to do all of this from like a beach in the sun in Jamaica or something like that.
Yes, absolutely.
Also on my list. And then like go for some of the other dreams that I have that are completely non-tech related.
Mhm. So, just to sum up your life thus far, because you've done a lot, and like if you had to give it a title, like for a book, what would it be?
Um, a title for a book.
Just summing up your life or a billboard or something, what would it say?
Peaks and valleys.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I feel like it's definitely been highs and lows, and like
Mhm.
whenever I feel like I'm at my lowest, like
Mhm.
that's when opportunities end up coming for me. So
Mhm.
it's interesting because it's like I feel like it's testing my faith of whether or not I believe in what
Mhm.
I'm doing. Um, and like right before I'm gonna break every time, like there's always something to help
Yeah.
me. Yeah. Especially being like a full-time entrepreneur in this
Yeah.
space, like in the space of trying to like help people, like social enterprise space, like it's
Mhm.
definitely something that has you questioning like should I even be trying to help people, or do I find something that's like pure profit, like doesn't care about
Yeah.
humanity type of thing.
Mhm.
So it definitely like questions my commitment to it.
Mhm.
Um through like the ups and downs, because some days I'm like I need to go get a job, and then I'm like I don't know if I can really go back there.
That's
Like
entrepreneurship for you. You
yeah,
know, one minute I think it was something that said you're starting off the week great and you're like, oh, okay, I can do this, and then the next day is like, oh, I'm quitting. Or it's like, why did I ever start this? And now it's like, oh, I'm doing great again. So it's definitely peaks and valleys, highs and lows.
yeah,
And like you said, it's really about, do you believe? Do you
yeah.
really believe that you could do it? And if you do, then you won't stop. You'll be unstoppable.
Yeah, you have to believe when nobody believes, because
Mhm.
that's usually what happens. Usually no one believes until you actually do things. Like I remember when I ran the first conference and I told people I was doing it, they were like, "Oh, but you've never ran a conference and maybe you should aim for less people." Like I didn't even have a number I was aiming for. I thought it was going to be like in a small room like in the back of the library or something. But when I put up tickets, they sold out
Mhm.
pass, and then I needed to go find a venue. And
Mhm.
before I had released tickets or anything, I had people telling me like, "Oh, you should make it smaller. Oh, you should probably not even like try to find any speakers from Toronto. You should probably just stream like a main conference's content." Like I was able to find like all women in Toronto speakers. I was able to secure sponsors. So I was
Mhm.
able to get people to give me money, and I've never done it before. Like it was
Mhm.
just like, I'm used to people telling me what I can't do and me
Mhm.
just doing what I need to do.
Mhm.
So, I feel
Does
like that's,
that
like, not
fuel
my
you?
fault.
Like when people are saying, "Oh, you can't do this, or you should do that." Does that drive you and push you to prove to them that you can do it?
Not really. Like, I feel like it's more like I take it into consideration because I'm like, "Am I delusional?" Like, I need to know.
Right.
Like, I have to do a pulse check, like,
Right.
am I doing too much? But then, um, sometimes it's kinda like, "Oh, like, you probably couldn't do it, but, like, I'll go do that."
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because
I love
sometimes it's just
that.
that, like like,
It's
I know
just that
you
you can't do it.
yeah, and, like, maybe, like, that's not your lane, and, like, it could be that it's not my lane, but if I wanna make that my lane, like, I'm gonna try. Like, I feel like
Mhm.
I'm less scared to try new things,
Mhm.
um, because I've failed so many times.
Mhm.
So it's just like, "Oh, like, I can try something else, I'm not going to like, it's not gonna do anything to me
Yeah.
if I try
Mhm.
something new."
And you know what? Honestly, you probably couldn't even go back to work for somebody just because you've been doing your own thing. It'll be hard to do that. I think. I mean, I'm sure any of us entrepreneurs, if you had to, you probably could. But like when I was thinking today about interviews, I'm like, do I really feel like the first interview, the second interview, a panel interview. Like I really don't feel like that just to, work for somebody and now you're asking for deliverables and it's just too much when you've been the boss and running
Yeah.
things yourself and making all the decisions. It's a difficult transition. And I
Mhm.
think the mark of a true entrepreneur is, like you said, not being afraid to fail, failing forward, keep pushing, keep going. And the fact that you even thought about what happens next, shows that, you're in it for the long haul. So I love that.
Mhm.
Before we go, do you have any resources or anything that you can share to someone, who's thinking about transitioning into a tech role?
I would say like if you're trying to transition into data, and you want to learn how to code, because that's the thing, like you have to figure out what you would want to do in data first, because there's actually like a high need for people who are translators. So it's like they know some of the tech and they know some of the business, so they're the bridge. So you don't, like, I wouldn't say to squeeze yourself in any of the roles that you would not actually enjoy, because like, why shouldn't you enjoy what you have to do for 40 hours a week? Like, you should.
Right.
But Data Quest has like a basic plan where you could learn data analytics, data science, or data engineering for free. So some of their courses are free, and the way that it works is you code and it gives you feedback on whether or not your code is right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a cool thing that you could do. Our resource library has different books. So, like, if you're interested in learning about AI through reading books, we literally have study guides for it. So you can go through the study guides. Our next conference is at the end of April next year. So that's like a conference and an awards, and we also have workshops, so you could do hands-on work. It is in Toronto, so you'd have to come to Toronto, which, make it a field trip. There's nice things here, and it's not cold here at the end of April.
Have you thought about streaming it too? Like you could still have it, but then also, stream it just to reach more people like myself who probably won't go to Toronto but is interested.
You should think about it. Uh, we're thinking about it, but we're leaning more to providing the videos after.
Hmm.
Yeah, because the management of having those two platforms, like having in person and also having to deal with the hybrid platform, like my team is like strong and mighty, so I'm trying to
Hmm.
make sure that they're not too fragmented.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it was great talking to you. Thank you so much. Make sure you follow her on her social media platforms, and
Oh,
check
I
out her
didn't
resources
notice there is a typo in my name.
and
I
your
just read it.
name.
Yeah, in the at. So it's data, but I didn't notice because I read it too quickly. So sorry.
I think I actually copy and paste, so it's data.
I put it in the chat for you so you can find it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just spell it out for the people who are listening and not watching us anyway, so that they can find you.
Thank you. And so sorry about not catching that earlier.
It's okay. So just spell out your links and everything so the people that are just listening and aren't watching us so that they can find you as well.
Okay. So our company on all channels is Women DSTO. So WOMXN My personal pages are all data. So DAYTADAHTA. I'm a nerd, so I kind of like how you can say data multiple ways.
Hmm.
And our website is www.womxndsto.com.
All right, and make sure you check out her resource library, and just stay connected. The fortune is in the network, and if you're interested in getting into tech, here's another resource for you. So thank you so much again for joining the show. Thank you guys for watching, and have a good evening.
Thanks for having me. Have a good